Okay, so moving on to, we're still on Unit 1, Module 3, so we're on arrest procedures. Can we arrest someone as a security operative or door supervisor? Um, a lot of people seem to say no, but we actually can. But it's just known as what we call a citizen's arrest, isn't it? You wouldn't arrest someone and say, I'm making a citizen's arrest, because it's likely they would just laugh at you and walk away. So you just arrest them the same as the police would. Um, but avoid cautioning them like the police. In the past, they told us we can, but again, people would laugh at you and walk away. Okay, an arrest or apprehension is the taking or restraint of a person from his liberty or her liberty in order that he or she shall be forthcoming to answer an alleged crime or offence. Taking away someone's liberty is a very serious matter. Prior to acting, you must consider whether you have the power of arrest in the first place. So, is it an indictable offence or is it a crime? How long until or can the police attend? How are you going to stop the person from leaving and where are you going to do this? Whether you have a colleague to act as your witness or support, if you need to restrain the person, if you were covered by CCTV, if the person is likely to attempt to assault you. Remember, your safety is as important as the customer's safety. Certain serious offences have been given special condition within criminal law and they are known as indictable offences. Indictable means that you get put in prison. The majority of serious crimes that security operatives come across will fall within this category. Indictable offences are those that may be tried at a Crown Court. Section 24A of the Police and Criminal Evidence Act 1984 says that a person other than the constable, which includes security operatives, may arrest without warrant anyone who is in the act of committing an indictable offence. And I wouldn't go with Section B there on either of them. I'd go straight to 2. Where an indictable offence has been committed, a person other than the constable may arrest without warrant. A. Anyone who is guilty of the offence. Again, I wouldn't go with Part B on there because we don't arrest like the police. We don't arrest on suspicion because that's the same as prejudging someone, isn't it? We only arrest someone if we've seen the crime that's being committed. Okay. The police normally arrest on suspicion because they turn up afterwards. Then they have to prove that the offence did occur, and then it goes to court, and the judge and jury decide whether it did happen or not when it's a police case. That's why police arrest on suspicion, but we don't. We arrest because we've seen it happen. If you arrest someone on suspicion and you prejudge someone, you're going to end up getting told off in court by the judge and jury because you've taken someone's freedom away without knowing with certainty that a crime has been committed. Okay. The only time you would ever use suspicion is when it comes to terrorism concerns. If you're suspicious of terrorism activity, then report it straight away. Don't wait for that. We don't want to wait for a bomb to go off or any other type of terror attack, do we? So when it comes to suspicion with terrorism concerns, then you would alert the police. But any other type of crime, we don't prejudge. It's not guilty and then they've got to prove their innocence, is it? It's the other way around. So we only arrest after the fact. One of the main differences between a security operative and a police officer is we try to prevent crime, and we can arrest after a crime's been committed. The police very rarely prevent crime. Years ago, they used to go around to schools and talk to kids and tell them not to grow up to get into crime and stuff like this. But nowadays, they very rarely do anything like that. The police's main role is to deal with crime after it's happened. Okay. The power of arrest is only exercisable if A. The person making the arrest has reasonable grounds for believing that for any of the reasons mentioned it's necessary to arrest the person in question. So reasonable grounds, not suspicion. you need to know that they've committed a crime, don't you? Or B, it appears to the person making the arrest that a constable cannot make the arrest instead. Security operatives have no more powers of arrest than any other citizen or member of the public. The reason to arrest are to prevent the person from causing physical injury to themselves or any other person, suffering physical injury, causing a loss or damage to property, making off before a constable can assume responsibility for them. Offences under this section for which all security operatives have the same powers of arrest as any other member of the public include murder or homicide. Sounds very American, doesn't it? Culpable homicide as well. Assault, so that's actual bodily harm, grievous bodily harm and grievous bodily harm with intent. Rape, sexual assault, firearms offences, drugs offences, robbery, theft, burglary or housebreaking, fraud, criminal damage, and malicious mischief. As a security operative, the most common situations or crimes you might come across or you will likely come across are theft or assault or drugs offences. They're the main three that you would have to deal with. A breach of the peace is a common law concept that has very ancient roots. In general terms, it is considered to be any disorder or disruption to peace in public or in private that results in violence, threat of violence, or provokes violence from another. And security operatives should only arrest someone for one of the following reasons. I wouldn't go with A, so that's a mistake. To prevent an offence being committed, there you are again, mate. So that you don't want to do that because then you're prejudging someone. We're not the thought police. We're not George Orwell's thought police, are we? Where we're accusing someone of doing something before they've actually done it. So that's a mistake that the awarding bodies put in there. One of them. We don't use this awarding body, by the way. B, to prevent the continuance of an offence. C, to prevent the renewal of an offence. Or D, to detain someone for an offence already committed. That's the one. D is the one you're most likely going to go with. When you arrest someone who's committed a crime, the person must be told who you are. So you don't tell them your name because people can find out where you live now just from your name. You would never give that type of information out to anyone. If you're in plain clothes as a store detective pretending to be a customer with walking around with your basket or your trolley, and then you've observed someone shoplifting, you would tell them that you're a member of the security team and show them your badge, your SIA license, and explain to them that they're being now that they're being arrested, what they're being arrested for, and the grounds for the arrest, and that the police are being called or they're on the way. When carrying out an arrest, use everyday words. Do not caution the suspect. In the past, in security training, years ago it was called CITO training before the SIA came in, and we were always told to caution them like the police, but none of us would ever do it because people would laugh at you, wouldn't they? They wouldn't take you seriously. Explain the reason for the arrest. Only use force if necessary to prevent escape or assault. Treat the person reasonably. You are in charge of their welfare until the police arrive. So even if you find them very challenging, they're being abusive towards you, calling you names, we still need to remain professional and ensure that they're safe until we transfer custody over to the police. Okay? You don't take name calling personally. They're just angry because you've arrested them. A lot of the time, people don't like a uniform or an authority figure, and it's the uniform that they're kicking off at, being abusive towards. They don't know you personally, do they? So please don't ever take anything like that personally. After an arrest, you are responsible for the person. You must ensure your safety and ensure their safety. Ensure the evidence is preserved if there is any evidence. Hand over the person and the evidence to the police and explain the reason for the arrest in front of the person and the police. Record the arrest. Assist the police with a statement. Possibly attend court to give evidence. Discuss the arrest procedure with the police. You can use your powers of arrest in the course of crime prevention and detection. Relatively few successful civil or criminal actions have been taken against security staff for unlawful arrest. Normally in the test paper they call it false arrest. Use your discretion and common sense when deciding when to effect an arrest and ensure you've got the power to arrest in the first place. So how would we know that? If the person's committed a crime, then you've got a power to arrest, haven't you? Never put yourself in any unnecessary danger while effecting an arrest. If you're in any doubt about your ability or about your personal safety, then the police should be called to assist or make the arrest themselves. Common law, the rules of self-defense. If any person has an honestly held belief that he or another is in imminent danger, then he may use such force as is reasonable and necessary to avert that danger. Security operatives do occasionally need to use force to carry out their duties and are under certain circumstances legally empowered to do so. Force can be used if being used for self-defense, saving a life or saving others from harm, preventing someone from leaving after an arrest, so a citizen's arrest. And section 3, this is important to remember, it might come up in your test paper. You don't need to remember section 3, but make a note of Criminal Law Act 1967. This gives everyone, including door supervisors and security operatives, the authority to use force, such force as is reasonable in the circumstances in the prevention of crime or to arrest someone. So the Criminal Law Act 67 gives you the power to use force on another individual to make an arrest. Some of the questions you might get asked by a judge or the police if you do use some form of physical force on another person. Was there a need to use force? What was the amount of force used reasonably? What was the extent of the injuries compared to the amount of resistance given? I don't like number 4. What was the size and build of the injured party compared to the security staff? It doesn't matter, does it? Someone like Bruce Lee could kick the backside of someone the size of Arnold Schwarzenegger. So it doesn't really matter the size of a person. But this is how judges work, isn't it? They weigh up these things. Number 5, were any weapons used or threatened by the other party? 6, at what stage did the security operative stop using force? 7, was force applied in good faith or in a malicious way? Remember, only use force when absolutely necessary. Only use force as is reasonable and necessary. Never use a weapon. Ensure you can justify your actions and record your actions as soon as possible. Okay, so explain what is meant by the term arrest. What is it? What do we do when we arrest someone? What do we take away? If you want to go back, play back this and refer to the presentation slides and then make a note of what is meant by the term arrest. Provide 6 examples of offences for which a security operative can arrest another person. And explain the procedures a security operative should follow after making an arrest.